Welcome to this week's episode of Success in Women. I'm Linda, and as you can see, this is not Andrea, but this is May. May and I are on our last day of our cruise, and we want to talk about planning, because even though we thought we were planning our trip to the very end, every detail, things can still go awry. And what happened when we got to the airport, and we came individually, we met up, no issue. May had passes actually to the premium lounge, so that was really nice. So we sat there, had a coffee, had a small breakfast, and decided we would go and check our flight status. It was an early morning flight. We checked our status, and lo and behold, May comes back and said, our flight's canceled. And I mean, it was the only one going to Quebec City, I'll say, to catch our cruise ship on time. Now, there was one in the afternoon. Luckily, when we saw that, we panicked very quickly, ran down to customer service, and we were pretty close to the head of the line. So we were very fortunate in that respect, because May ended up getting the last seat on a 1:40 flight outside of Toronto to go to Quebec City. And I ended up only on a standby, where I couldn't take the chance because she would have ended up possibly getting to the cruise ship without me. So I had to think clearly, and one of the things that May had said right when we got to the wicket or the counter for the customer service was that don't panic.
Yes,
don't panic.
Right.
And because of that, we started to think a little clearer. We had to have a backup plan. But we didn't have a backup plan initially because, first of all, we gave ourselves a lot of time booking an early morning flight. But second of all, in my entire life of traveling, I've never had a flight cancel on me. And especially knowing that I had to be at a certain destination the same day.
Right.
So lesson number one, always go 1 or 2 days in advance when you have something like a cruise or a tour group that you're going to meet up with. Better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, 1 or 2 days. One
or
day
two
may not be enough sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
And we did meet somebody in line that had been traveling a couple of days because their flights kept getting canceled. And they had told us 6 of their flights over the 2 days had already been canceled. So they still hadn't got to their destination. And again, lucky that we were sort of accommodated, or at least one of us.
Yes.
Anyway, I got on my phone and started to look at other airlines, something that I could get with plenty of time to Quebec City. I found one. Toronto, luckily, has a second airport down at the waterfront, and they call it the Island Airport. And that's serviced by Porter Airlines. I had never flown them before, but I called them up. I got a seat, and then you take the up train from Pearson all the way down to the Island Airport. And actually, even though it's pretty far, it was pretty fast.
It was
like
very fast.
Maybe 20 minutes, because they don't stop, and it was incredible. And once you get out, you have to, do a little walking, go through a tunnel. You end up anyway at the Island Airport. Now, while I was on the train, I did some calculations, and then I had to call up May and say, I don't think you're going to make it. You're really pushing it if you stay with that flight. So I said, you better call. And what happened when you called?
Linda, am I going to make it? Right? I didn't. So what happened is she called, May, come down from Porter, get your ticket fast. So I called Porter, got my ticket. I was the last one.
On that plane.
Flight. Yes. And in the meantime, when I was going to the airport earlier, they made me check my carry-on in. I don't know why he
insisted.
Because I travel with that luggage over the world, but he wanted to check it in. Okay, I'm cool with that. We checked it in. So when I got my ticket for the porter, I went to the counter and said, please, can I have my luggage? The lady looked at her watch and said, sorry, it's going to take 3 hours.
Or more.
I said, what? 3 hours? I said, you know what? thank you. So I said, okay, that was it. My luggage, bye-bye. And I boarded the train, and away I go. Okay, that's as far. And then we met up at...
So we met up at Porter, and while we were there, before May had arrived, because now I knew she didn't have any luggage, and we didn't know if she would ever get her luggage, so I bought her a t-shirt at least, so she'd have something to sleep in that night, because the only clothes she really had was what she was wearing.
Right, yes.
These are all new. But it ended up, so I got her the t-shirt at least as a starting point. And so we get on the plane. Oh my God, it was an amazing flight. And actually for me, it was
nice.
an experience because I had never flown Porter. But as much as all the planning that I've done and all the trips that I've ever taken, when something goes wrong, you actually kind of have to have a backup plan. If you panic, it's good to have something in the back of your mind. What could you do? You know, and in this case, I would have normally panicked because I had to get on the cruise ship. And normally when I take a cruise, I'm in Florida already, and I take a lot of Caribbean. And if I ever go overseas, I always make sure I'm at least 1 day in advance. But like you said, because you've had this happen, 2 days might be even better when you're traveling far to catch a cruise or a tour.
Considering the price you're paying to catch up to the cruise.
That's the other
to
thing.
Meet up with your travel group. 2 nights of a hotel is nothing.
We ended up meeting somebody on the ship that had met somebody who was supposed to be on our flight. And because we were very quick to get into customer service to find out there were no Air Canada flights, we were very quick to actually Google, find Porter, and get on, and the last 2 seats.
Right.
So they don't really have a lot of flights going to Quebec City, so I don't know what other people could have done. But that lady ended up taking 2 or 3 days to finally get here. And from what we heard, her luggage never caught up. Now, one of the things that happened with May is that Air Canada was in touch and said that we would get her luggage at the first port of call. So the first day we were sailing to St. Lawrence, the next day we were going to be in Prince Edward Island, her luggage was supposed to catch up. And we thought, holy moly, this was like a miracle.
Right.
Like, we both didn't expect that Air Canada would just send her luggage and find her. Because she didn't really tell them, but she did say she was going on a cruise, and of course flying to Quebec City. That was the cruise that was leaving from there.
Right.
Did we get the luggage in Prince Edward Island?
Absolutely not. It was still, where did it go?
Well,
oh, it got to, I think it got there, but they sent it back. They sent it somewhere else.
I thought it went to Quebec City.
Yeah.
Then it was going to go to Prince Edward Island. But then they were going to send it to Sydney, Nova Scotia, a day after we were going to be there.
Right, right.
And then from there it went back somewhere.
It went back to Montreal. I don't know why, okay? I really do not know why. But, and then it went, from Montreal, went back to Sydney, and then it went...
Halifax? No, you got it in St. John, right?
I think I got it in St. John.
Yeah, so she got the luggage yesterday. Basically 5 days, 6 days into our cruise, which, when you think about it, because May had to buy clothes all the way along. And
it was nice to them on myself. I was looking for bargains, right?
You were looking for bargains. You got some on the ship. You got some on land because Air Canada said, buy what's reasonable. She had nothing. I mean, and that was all because they forced her to check luggage. Carry on luggage. And that's the other thing. You're planning this, and especially because we were only going on a trip for 1 week, we thought carry on would be plenty. And with carry on, you don't expect your luggage to be lost since you're carrying it on yourself. When that didn't happen, and it took 6 days, now for 1 day, so May got to dress up last night for dinner because it ended up being dressing night. So that was nice that she had that opportunity, except that now, 1 day later, she's actually got to carry her luggage off because we have an early morning flight tomorrow from Boston. The thing is, if we get delayed in Boston, it's not the end of the world because
Right.
we don't have a schedule now. We're not catching up with a tour group. We're not catching up with, and so probably everything's going to go on time and as smooth as we can get. But we do have to get off the ship. But it just means extra luggage that she's carrying. Our last port today was in Bar Harbor. Now you're going to see this next Friday, so it'll be a week from now. But our last port was Bar Harbor in Maine, which is a beautiful port, by the way. And there were so many opportunities to buy bargain stuff
I can't.
that she couldn't do it anymore.
I was so jealous.
So I had packed so I could have a little bit of room. But the whole thing is, ladies, you don't know when something's going to go wrong. And the best laid plans can simply go awry. And what do you do? And you can look at that, whether it's for business, something, you're hosting a dinner party, it doesn't matter. What's the plan B? Now, you can't think of everything that's going to go wrong, but you can actually plan for some things that could. So now knowing.
So what I usually do, which I didn't do this time, but what I usually do is pack an extra set of clothing.
Smart move.
It can be, a t-shirt. Make sure you have a pair of underwear so you can switch, a pair of socks, and a pair of light pants that you can switch. Always have that with your knapsack or your...
Murphy's Law, though. This time you didn't.
Well, that's Murphy's.
Murphy's Law. The first time she doesn't have her change of clothes. And I've learned that lesson as well, May, because that happened to me one time when I was in Italy. And then because I was all over the airport running around, I got all sweaty. And I mean, to sit on a plane and be really uncomfortable, I had to go because I had no change in, and I only had my backpack. Because in Italy, I had a big suitcase. I checked it in. Nothing in my backpack that would be clothes that I could go into. So then I'm forced to shop at the airport, buying whatever they have. And in Italy, it just happened to be expensive clothes. So I had to buy a very expensive blouse that I didn't really want and never really wore again, which was a drag. I don't even know what I did. I probably donated it because I don't wear blouses too often. But that's the thing. You should always have that carry-on change in case. But even if you fly south, it's good to have maybe a pair of shorts and something, another light t-shirt or something, right? So that you can at least go from heavier clothes when you're going from cold weather climates to warm weather climates. It's a good backup plan. But for sure, if you're going...
I just want to tell you the reason why I didn't have it's because I got a new sleep machine. It's a tiny little thing.
But it took up room.
No, because they made me check my carry-on in. I had to take the sleep machine out. So I have to,
So that was in the carry-on. On the suitcase, your sleep machine.
Yeah.
And then you put it in the backpack.
Yes.
Oh, I see. And her backpack isn't actually as large as mine. But I was very fortunate that they didn't make me. And it's almost like, again, Murphy's Law. But, Air Canada is looking to go on strike, possibly, in mid-September. And they made her check in her carry-on and then very soon after canceled flight. Like they didn't know. I'm almost wondering if that wasn't just a setup to inconvenience the passenger, because we thought it was a miracle that you were getting your luggage so quickly at the first port of call, and then that didn't happen.
And also, from now on traveling, what I'm going to do is buy a little bit smaller carry-on, because they check you at the airport. If it doesn't fit those racks, you have to check it in. So,
and Air Canada is pretty lenient, so you can imagine some of the other airlines that they for sure would force you to
so basically,
check it.
The rules are changing every day, and the airlines are not keeping their promises. As say, you go on this flight, they cancel without notice. When I was in Europe last time, they don't have the crew to fly the airplane, or they can't load your luggage onto the airplane, so you have to sit at tarmac and wait.
But remember at Porter though, they had too much luggage and weight for their small plane. Do you remember that? So they were looking for volunteers that they were actually paying to stay until the next day. Well, there was no way that could happen to us because they said if people don't volunteer, they were going to force people off. Thank God we weren't one of those.
I was the last one.
Oh my God.
They offered $400, $600. They went as high as $800.
Yes. But they did get people at that
think
point.
yes.
Yeah, we saw people at the counter were sitting close and thinking, thank you. Because we had to be on that flight. We really did.
Should we cancel and take the 800? No.
And we would have missed the cruise.
Cruise,
I mean,
yeah.
really, even to book something else, where would we catch up now?
Impossible.
Yeah, we couldn't have done it. But the whole thing is that you can plan and plan and plan, and things still go wrong. And that's what life is all about.
Right.
But one of the things, and May, you make such a good point, don't panic, because you don't think clearly when you panic. You really have to have everything clear so that you can start thinking logically, okay, what's the next step? What can we do? What's within our control? And remember I was telling you, Jack Canfield had taught us back in 2012 when I took his Train the Trainer course, and he came up with this formula that said E plus R equals O. The event plus the outcome, plus the event plus your response to that event equals the outcome. So are you going to be stressed, or are you going to respond in a positive way? Look for what you can control. Forget about what you can't, because you can't. There's nothing you can do about what you can't control. But now, how can you make things work in your favor?
Right.
And you do have to have a clear mind to be able to do that. You had this happen before, but we only had an hour and a half flight, so that's why we booked the day of. But you had gone on a cruise and you booked the day of and got all these delays.
Yes.
At the time when you were going through this for the first time, and is that why you've learned now to calm down and think about it? Or were you guys in a panic because you ended up a couple of days, you said, right?
Yes, it cost us about $2,000 extra to catch up to the cruise ship. If you buy your tickets and things like that, check your credit card to see whether they have cancellation insurance, baggage insurance, because that's another resource for you to hopefully get some money back. Or, buying that kind of insurance may be very expensive.
Yeah, the travel.
But the credit card may help with that.
Yeah, and that it's a good point, because it was the airline that canceled the flight. And even with that, because we had to pay for the new flight, which was more than double of what we had paid one way on Air Canada.
By the way, half an hour later, I pay $100 more.
Yeah, she had to pay $100 more. Yeah. Half an hour later, but because she got the last seat on the plane, they charged her a lot more. Yeah. And I'm like, wow. And see, even with that, does your credit card allow you to make these charges? Do you have enough cash if you need to?
Yes.
Because even with all of that, and when you were saying, May, about the trip that you had, and you had about $2,000 extra in expenses.
That's right.
That's each person, right?
Right. Each person. There were four
of
us.
Yeah. So you each needed to make sure that your credit card could accommodate. If you're traveling and you're kind of maxed out on your credit cards, what do you do then?
Right.
And then some places, like hotels, some places, they want credit cards. They don't want cash. And you can't write a check. Even if you had your checkbook, which most people wouldn't travel with a checkbook. But, wow. But overall.
Yes. We had a great time.
We've been having a good time. And we haven't been stressing about it, although the thing that has happened, it took time away from your trip because you were constantly in touch with Air Canada.
Yes.
And I'll say guest services downstairs to make sure really that they put it together. But the ship, Holland America, has been very nice, very accommodating. And so at least everything went smoothly, I'll say, after that.
Yes.
So it's like life throws you curves, or life throws you lemons, and you have to make that lemonade. Because in life, things will go
astray. And you know what? Everything will work out.
It does. It has a way.
Sometimes something like this happens. Number one, it's a new adventure. Number two, it's meant to be. Accept it and go with the flow.
That's a good point.
Don't have to worry about it. It will always work out.
And it's funny, because Andrew and I talk about this a lot, that sometimes we don't know why things happen,
Yes.
but there's a reason. So just go with the flow, because we can't necessarily find out,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe it saved you from something else.
Yes.
And so this was the path we were meant to take.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
And I was calm. It was good. Adventure, Linda.
It was an
Another
adventure.
Oh, the other thing is, when you go on a cruise, you can pack a lot less. I mean, I did with t-shirts, 4 t-shirts and 1 pair of pants. It was good. So that's all I needed to pack, nothing else. And I have a whole suitcase of clothes I never wore.
Well, this time because you didn't have them.
Well,
but really, May, it's true.
Yeah.
A lot of people do tend to overpack, and you don't need to do that
No.
either. And then if you do get your luggage lost, you didn't have that much anyway.
Right.
So you make do with what you have. And luckily, because I'm a 4-star on this particular line, I was able to get laundry done in the
Yes.
middle of the week, so that what little May had, because she was buying t-shirts and stuff, what little she had, we were able to send it to the laundry and get that done
Yes.
free.
Thank you.
So that was fun.
Yes.
So all in all, it was a good trip, but don't stress.
No.
If things don't go your way, don't stress.
It's a new adventure.
New adventure, whether it's home,
Yes.
work, something else, you know, it doesn't matter. Just
Take
go
a
with the
deep
flow.
breath and say,
Yeah.
okay, let's see.
This too
what-
shall pass.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it for this week, ladies. We hope you enjoyed our episode of Success in Women, and you may see May again in the future.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Well, it was a pleasure having you, May. It was really nice because I would have had to talk to myself.
Oh no.
So this is fun, and Andrea's going to be actually doing some fabulous finds, so you're going to want to tune into that. I think it's going to be the week after. She was in Florida recently and got all these wonderful bargains, so she wants to share that with you. But don't forget, if you like it, give us a thumbs up. We hope that you like it. Subscribe, share it with your friends. They might enjoy it as well, and they'll be thanking you for that. And don't forget, besides Instagram and TikTok, we also have our podcast, which is on Spotify. So you can find us there. If you don't have time to watch, you can actually listen to us. So until next week, I'm Linda, signing off.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Success in Women. As you know, I'm Andrea. Today, the episode, I am not in it. Linda is doing it with a friend. But I thought I'd share my tip of the week. So this week, I found a tip about making your sour cream, cottage cheese, your yogurt last longer in the fridge. So after you open it, replace the cap and turn it upside down to replace it back in the fridge. That way it'll seal the container a little bit better and make everything last longer. Anyways, have a great week, ladies. Bye.